Yes, wonderful. So I just have one announcement, and that is to offer my congratulations to those of you who managed to make it here through rather more difficult conditions. It's always nice to see you even when it's a little bit hard to get here. So with that, I'll have Dr. Kolhatkar introduce our today's speakers.
Okay, it's my really great pleasure to introduce Dr. Hosmane. He comes here from NIU, and again, special thanks for driving down today in difficult conditions, road conditions. He's a very established scientist. He got his PhD in the same year when I was born. So he has about maybe 50 years of research experience. He got his PhD from University of Edinburgh, Scotland. Then he stayed there in Europe for a couple of years for postdoc, and then he started his faculty position in Virginia Polytechnic Institute, and later then he moved on to Southern Methodist University. He was there for almost 18 years, and from there he moved to NIU. He is very well known for the boron neutron capturing therapy, especially for cancer projects. He is currently a distinguished research professor and inaugural board of trustee professor. And again, he has received several international and national awards. I won't go into details. He has published more than 300 journal articles. He has 2 books on his name, and today he is going to talk about some of the applications or the work he is doing in his lab, which is again boron neutron capturing therapy. So, welcome.
Thank you, Rohit, for inviting me and all the staff and faculty, those who are interested in listening to my lecture today. By the way, you introduced me, Rohit, that the year I got my PhD, the year you were born, right? So you think that I'm that old? That could be possible, but I might have done everything faster, right?
Oh,
I know.
He got his PhD when he was 7 years old.
Well, anyway, it's true. I did finish my PhD in 2.5 years in Edinburgh. That's true. Because, when I'm from Goa, it's a beautiful sandy beach and basically warm, I tell you, white sandy beach, and I used to be a beach bum. I always used to be body surfing under the water and making a lot of mischief, and people told me that you go to hell, you go to hell, you go to hell. I told them hell doesn't exist because I'm a science student. So until I went to Edinburgh, the day I arrived in Edinburgh, my God, that was the hell. Then I thought that, well, hell is over after I left Edinburgh, because the day I went there, by the way, it was cold, miserable, dark, October 14, 3 hours of sunshine, not sunshine, I mean light, because there's no sunshine there. Sunshine only exists 3 or 4 days a year, 60 degrees Fahrenheit. If the temperature reaches 60 degrees, people take their clothes off, by the way. Everybody is almost naked because it's too hot for them. And here I was, 80 degrees all the time. So I thought after I left Edinburgh after my PhD, now you understand why I finished my PhD early? Getting the hell out of there, believe me. So did that, but then after that, you know what, Rohit, in 2001, I got this Humboldt Award from Germany, Alexander von Humboldt Award. It was in Germany, it's not in Edinburgh or anywhere. So I was very happy in the month of June, at least still sunshine and warm and all those. The day I arrived in Göttingen, Germany, near Harz Mountain, I thought, what is this so familiar? My God, I thought hell was over. But what is this? Cold, miserable, rain, and whatnot, everything. I thought that, my God, you cannot have second hell. It's only one hell. Hell is only one, right? You can't have two hells. But I thought that, well, that could be a branch office of the hell. That was in Göttingen, Germany. But believe me, they told me that they were very, very proud that they got 54 Nobel laureates buried. It's true. I went to the cemetery and saw 54 Nobel laureates buried there in the cemetery. And I took even the photographs of all of them. And they were telling me that, do you know why we got 54 Nobel laureates here in this institute? I said, yeah, very easy. Because you can't do anything else over there. You cannot go out. What can you do? Work in the lab and get the Nobel Prize. You know, that's what they did. Anyway, you should enjoy your life too, okay? So that's what the lesson I would like to give, because that's what I learned, that you cannot just do all the time, work, work, work. We should enjoy too. We should have a smile on our face. We should do something which you want to do. Make yourself proud. If you make yourself proud, then you will have the smile on your face. That's what I'm going to say. I'm a positive thinker. I even give lectures on positivity. So let me talk about our research here, the boron neutron capture therapy, which is based on the compound. You know how sometimes research can take you to a direction which you never think that you would do. So the boron was my favorite element, yes. But then application began, but before that I was a silicon hydride chemist. I worked with silicon compounds. Then silicon and boron were not that far, and then both were discovered by Alfred Stock in Germany. And then boron existed, by the way, long time ago. Even civilization started, they knew. They used to bury the mummy with the natron, which is basically a boron oxide with the sodium chloride. And that's how they used it, and they preserved the body. See, they knew, even at that time, Egyptian mummies. Okay, then a lot of potteries, by the way. The early Roman glass, you know, the boron oxide they used to use. And then, of course, a lot of those ceramics came from Italy. And then you have, by the way, China. Remember that we even called China, even the coffee, the saucer and the cups, you know, we don't call that as coffee cup or something, we call China, right? Because the boron in there, the boric acid they used to use, very stable, very strong. And then, of course, we all know about this, the US borax. The Ronald Reagan had this show, it's called 20 mu borax, I think it was a long time ago. How many of you have seen that one? No, none of you. Because you were not born, right? For Rohit, it's impossible because he wasn't even born. Anyway, so that show, by the way, lasted a long time. It was sponsored by US borax, okay? And that show was there because the boron, there's a town called Boron in Mojave Desert, and they used to dig it, okay? And you can get the boron out of there. You can sack full of it. It used to be 20 mu borax. That's what the whole show was. Ronald Reagan was the hero. And of course, we all know that. You all carry, by the way, how many of your cell phone? All of your cell phone, I'm sure, right? Whether you like the boron or not, you are carrying little boron with you though. The cell phone, the cover, the glass, which is made of boron too. And all the cars, you know, the Pyrex. Pyrex is what? Pyrex is borosilicate glass. Everybody knew. See, without even knowing that you have been using boron. So that means boron is everywhere. You cannot say boron is boring. I think there was a show on TV, you know, I forgot his name, he was a comedian. And he used to call boron, moron, and this and that. But today you're going to see that boron is beyond this, okay? So we can save some lives too. That's what I'm going to show you. Here is the first, the discovery of boron, which was done by Gay-Lussac. And this was in Humphrey Davis in London too. So these are called, the word, the burak is the original name, came from Arabic. You know why this Arabic name came from? How this existed? Because the world's largest deposit is in Turkey. I visited there, by the way. It's called Pataya. And that is the one, everywhere is borax. And all the ceramics used to go, okay, and all the ceramic pottery and everything used to be set all over the world, especially. That was the famous, the ceramics used to come from. That was from, basically from Turkey. And Turkey didn't know that the boron can be used for other things. They just made all ceramics. But then, few years ago, this was when I was a Umbarwadi, I think 2001, when I visited Turkey. At the time, we talked about the boron neutron capture therapy. Until then, they didn't know. So now they are collaborating with us too. So that means the world is realizing that the boron is just beyond the ceramics. Okay? And here's the two isotopes. Now, boron 10 and boron 11. The difference between the two is 1 neutron. Look at boron 10 as 5 protons, 5 neutrons. Boron 11, 5 protons and 6 neutrons. Now, because of the difference in neutron, and this boron 10 can capture 1 neutron. And if it captures 1 neutron, it becomes boron 11. But the boron 11, if it becomes, it's not natural. It's artificial. So what happens if that thing comes there and becomes boron 11? So let me look at it in the next slide, and you can see that. Now, neutron was discovered in 1932 by John Chadwick in Cambridge, and he discovered this neutron. And soon after the neutron was discovered in Franklin Institute in Philadelphia, Gordon Locker said that, well, there are certain elements can capture neutron. And here are some of those elements. You could see that. It's all listed here, but most of them are. Almost all of them are not at all part of the body elements. Now, the body elements are carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, sulfur, and so on, but not any of these elements. And the radioactive elements, definitely not. Gadolinium, you don't want it. If it goes there inside the body, then you have a renal effect. You know, that's what all the lawyers are suing, all those, the magnetists and the manufacturing company, the pharmacists are being sued by so many people because gadolinium is dangerous. That's what they say. So, of course, we can make use of all these elements because none of these are, by the way, inside the body, including boron. Boron doesn't exist inside the body. But, you know, our body can take, without your knowledge, when you eat the vegetables, you get few milligrams of boron. So, overall, what you need is 26 grams of boron in your lifetime. Otherwise, you don't need. So, to strengthen the bone, this boron goes and keeps it stronger, but you don't want too much of that. That's why it's beautiful that the boron is not a regular element inside the body, but it can easily excrete it out. When it is not part of the body, you can get it out. And that's beautiful. You can do that. But if there's something which is part of the body element, like carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, sulfur, and so on, that you cannot get rid of because it's part of that. So what we did is basically Gordon Locker's this demonstration that the boron had the ability to capture neutron. That's what he said. In addition to boron, some of the other elements like gadolinium can capture neutron. Now, mercury also can capture neutron, and americium, plutonium, and all these things. By the way, who's going to use all these inside the body? No, we don't want any of this. These are dangerous materials, right? And xenon, samarium, europium, these are all not necessarily we can use it inside the body. But you know the beautiful thing about this is the boron, when you capture neutrons, it becomes boron 11, which is artificial boron 11. And the life of that boron 11 is basically 10 to the power negative 12 seconds. Even before you say B, it's disappeared, disintegrated into lithium 7 and helium. Helium nucleus is called alpha particle. Now, alpha particle and the lithium, okay, these are the two, little bit of photon. And look at the travel. So how far this helium nucleus or alpha particle can travel? Up to 10 micron, under 10 micron. Now, what is the significance of that, by the way? What is the size of a cell? Our size of a cell inside the body is under 10 micron. Now, if you have this boron, which is inside the cell, and you disintegrate nuclear fission reaction within the body, what happens within the cell? What happens? So, alpha particle cannot go beyond one cell. It's only that cell, and it destroys that. Neighboring cells are spared. No danger. I think that's the beauty about this. So, because of that, we always use the boron as one of the most interesting element, and we can have this capture therapy called boron neutron capture therapy, where you can have alpha particles can come in and can kill. Now, whenever you talk about the tumor, what do we think always? We think about first operation. Operation means surgery, right? Now, surgery is one thing. Then after surgery, you can have chemotherapy. After chemotherapy, you can have radiation. Well, vice versa, by the way. You can have radiation therapy first. You can shrink the tumor size, and then you can have a surgery. Then you can have a chemotherapy. Or you can have a chemotherapy, then you can have surgery and radiation. It doesn't matter. That's why it's a circle. Any one of the combinations are fine. So that is the therapy we use. Okay? Now, remember, the neutron capture therapy, the bimodal therapy, you have two components. One is cancer-specific drug and the thermal neutron or epithermal neutron. Now, thermal neutron is a slow neutron, epithermal neutron is a fast neutron. You can use both. And then, this is based on the ability of boron-10 can capture neutron. Now, what about gadolinium, by the way? Gadolinium can also absorb neutron. When gadolinium absorbs neutron, it doesn't disintegrate. 157 becomes 158. Now, gadolinium has 255,000 bonds. Now, each bond is 10 to the power negative 24 centimeters squared. Think about that. So, 255,000. And when it has to go through that much capacity it has, when the neutron is delivered to the gadolinium, and it can't go through all the way, all what you have there, by the way, before it reaches the neutron, the nucleus. Before it reaches the nucleus where the proton is there, it has to go through all the electrons. There are so many electron clouds. What it does is pushes all the electrons. Electrons were ejected. This is called Koster-Koenig electron, or we call basically OJ electrons. Those are the electrons come out like cascades of electrons, like a tiny stone hitting one spot continuously. You know what happens? You can have the damage. You can stop the replication of the DNA. Or you can have boron, it's just like a big stone. You can hit it, disintegrate, and you can kill whatever the object. Now, gadolinium is slow, but it has to be very close to the minor group binding site. So the gadolinium captures neutron, and we have gadolinium neutron capture therapy, we call GD&CT. But GD&CT has to be precise, has to be very close to the minor group binding site of the DNA. But the boron can be anywhere in the cell. It could be in a cytoplasm or in the nucleus, doesn't matter. So when the boron is involved, we call them as BNCT, boron neutron capture therapy. When a gadolinium is involved in that, we call it gadolinium neutron capture therapy. Now, not only the brain tumor, you can have melanoma and all sort of therapies you can use, synovectomy or restenosis reduction and many other ones. You are going to see some of them today with clinical trials, okay? All right, so here it is. Why boron is an attractive element for cancer treatment? Remember, it's not radioactive. It's a non-radioactive element. And look at the cross-section, 3,838 bond. Each bond is 10 to the power, negative 24 square centimeter. Now, and here you have basically boron 10, captures the neutron, produces alpha particles and lithium particles. Now, boron neutron capture reaction, okay, that path length is only one cell diameter, not beyond that. It cannot really kill any healthy cell. If the boron is in the cell, it will kill. If it is in a healthy cell, it will kill the healthy cell. But our main purpose here is not to send the boron into the healthy cell, only the tumor. So that's what the chemists come in the picture. So we can design the molecule. We are basically molecular engineers, right? So we make all these compounds specifically prepared to go only to the tumor. So that's what we come in. Now, then again, that's what I say here, very localized effect. The damage is very localized because under 10 micron, that is within the cell. And then high linear energy transfer, that means you have alpha particle going in one direction, and then you have the recoil lithium, we call them opposite direction, just like in the rockets, it goes in the opposite direction. whatever in its path, it will provide that kinetic energy, and that will kill that particular cell. So if it's a tumor cell, tumor is gone. If it's healthy cell is gone too. But we have to be extremely careful. Now, B and C reaction, this is a very specific and very important one. Dividing cell as well as non-dividing cell. Why is it so important? Now, non-dividing cell or just started dividing, those are the tumor roots. Now, every single thing, when you see even the surgery you always have tumor roots. Or any therapy which you make, even the one X-ray radiation, the radiation treatment, or any other treatment, the tumor roots are the one difficult to catch. Except chemotherapy, sometimes it can catch the roots. But in radiation therapy, none of them. But the boron has no distinction. It goes to every cell. But if it is now going there, just the non-dividing cell, but the tumor roots, then you can kill the tumor roots. So that's what the beauty is about. So that's why our compound has to go even to the tumor roots. That's why we prepare the molecule such that it will go to where there is a tumor or tumor roots. Okay? So boron chemistry is well understood. We know that there are so many Nobel laureates now. There are 4 of them now. Lipscomb got Nobel Prize in 70s or before he was born. Then it's true though. It's true. And then soon after that, it was Herbert Brown from Purdue got the Nobel Prize. Then in 2010 or 12, we got 2 more people got Nobel Prize, Akira Suzuki and then Negishi from Purdue. Negishi from Purdue, Akira Suzuki from Japan. So we have 4 Nobel laureates. And of course, Lipscomb students also got Nobel Prize, including Robert Hoffman. He does all theoretical calculations, but not any experimental chemistry. So basically, this is about the boron, why boron is attractive element. Okay? Now here it is. You can see that NCT, very localized. You can pinpoint where you want to do. And look at the photon therapy. How many of the neighboring cells are destroyed? No matter how much you do. You have a lot more damage in the photon therapy compared to the NCT. Now, why NCT is not popular then? Well, NCT required reactor, neutron sources. But now, the reactor has been changed, including in Fermi lab now. We don't use reactor anymore. We use basically accelerators. Accelerator like a small MRI unit. Now the whole world is now having the accelerators. We don't need to have big reactors because many of the patients, just looking at the reactor, they die. Forget about getting a treatment. Just as soon as it's in the reactor, that's gone, finished. But now, we have accelerators now, like MRI unit. So it's very nice, very easy. Now here are the 2 comparisons between the BNCT and GDNCT, which I already mentioned. Again, it's repeated here. Look at the cross-section and what is the reaction here, N alpha, N gamma, and quaternionic electrons, OJ electrons we call that. And look at that under 10 micrometer, high linear energy, and this one under 40 nanometer, not micrometer. That means it has to be very close to the minor group binding site. If it is there, then you got GD and CT as well. But gadolinium has advantage because gadolinium has 7 unpaired electrons. And you can have beautiful MRI images. Now think about this. If you have a boron and a gadolinium and a magnetic nanoparticle, you got it. You have everything in one. So you can have BNCT, GDNCT, MRI contrast agent, and then magnetically induced endocytosis, magnetically induced exocytosis. That's what you're going to see now today, where we are now at the end. Okay? Now here's the one cell killing mechanism where you can, boron can be anywhere in the cytoplasm, not necessarily has to be in the nucleus. Here the slow neutron captures and you have this boron 10 isotope, and then you have a helium, which is alpha particles, and the lithium recoil, lithium in the opposite direction. It's just a cartoon. Now here it is, BNCT requirement. You have to have approximately 30 to 35 microgram. Okay, under 30 is okay, but best treatment would be around 30 to 35 microgram of boron 10 per gram of tumor. Now, tumor to normal blood ratio 5 to 1 to 1. Now, the delivery has to be non-toxic. So if it is a non-toxic, then you are in good shape. Otherwise, people will die even with the toxicity. Now, boron drug should be highly soluble. That's another thing. If it is not soluble, you cannot send it to the tumor. Now, these are the two drugs approved by FDA. This is just a cage with the thiol group attached, and here the one is the phenylalanine with the boronic acid at the end. And these are the two compounds prepared in the 60s. Now, at that time, FDA said, well, these two are okay, but none of them are tumor specific. If they are not tumor specific, then if they approve it, what's the use? Because you have to use carriers such as D-glucose. If you have D-glucose, that means some of those, the diabetic patients cannot get this treatment because the data would be yo-yo, because they cannot tolerate the glucose. So because of that, these two drugs are not really very useful. So for that reason, we decided that let's make our own new drug, which would be glycyl phenylalanine. You know, in the biology and the biochemistry, they always like abbreviation, right? TTG, GGG, PPB, or whatever. Now, I like that because I don't have to pronounce all these names, complex name. I call BGPA now. BPA, boronated phenylalanine. BGPA is boronated glycyl phenylalanine. Now, this is the peptide linkage, by the way, no enzymatic attack here. Tumor to normal boron ratio is 9:1, look at the 3 times higher. And tumor to blood ratio is 3 times greater than the earlier one. And now we know definitely that our drug, which is potentially better than approved BPA and BSH drug. We published it, but so what? FDA won't allow us to use it. What can we do? Well, we have to find where we can use our these drugs. But before that, let me show that what is the mechanism of this delivery. I know that we're all studying biology, and let me show you some of these. This is called, just like a drinking thing, it's called pinocytosis. Look at that, how the blood goes and goes inside. Isn't it beautiful? Right? Have you seen this one online? No? You saw that, right? Okay. Now, let me show you some other ones, by the way. And here's the eating, I call it. Look at this one. Boom, grabs it. Right? This is another mechanism. Right? And then there's a third one I call sleeping on a recliner chair. I call it receptor-mediated endocytosis. Look at that, like a chair, goes down. Like an elevator, you know, goes down. So this is a nice one. I like this one. You know, someone who did this, and it's really available for anybody to see that. And then, by the way, here is the endocytosis. Look at that, how it goes inside. How do you like this one? Now, endocytosis now starts, and then exocytosis. This is the mechanism. It's just a tennis ball and a string. You can do it. It's not a big deal. It's very easy to do. Anyway, so now you know that how the drug goes inside the body. Now, remember that I told you that the drug which we make, which is BGPA. Now, is that good? All right. We can't do it in the United States, right? But this drug went to Italy. Now, there was a patient. He had liver tumor. And this liver tumor was 14 different spots inside the body. And he did not go to a doctor. He basically, literally, was taking local remedy and all those things. And it was too late, grade 4. He went to a doctor. The doctor said, well, you're going to die in a couple of weeks. And he was asking, is there any option? Anyway, he's going to die, right? So they said, well, there's a BNCT facility there in Italy. And this whole project is called Termina Project. And there, basically, the doctor said, well, we can treat you with the BNCT. And we have new drugs came from the United States, and we can use that, and we can really treat this patient. Well, the patient was there, 14 different spots, and definitely he doesn't know that what's going to happen to him. He thought that he's already dead. But then, looked at, there was a discussion, when you have to put, boron drug can be delivered easily because it's water soluble, no problem. We can deliver it out, direct injection, we can do it. Then, how do we provide the neutron flux? There are a lot of bones there. When there are a lot of bones, you cannot have a uniformity there. We can calculate the boron concentration exactly. We know now that 10 to the power 9 boron atoms, boron 10 atoms per cell. That is 30 to 35 microgram per gram of tumor. We knew that. Calculation, everything, science existed. But how do we treat this patient? Well, the decision has to be made. Because the bones are there, we cannot treat the patient with the neutron flux properly. So, explanted the whole liver outside the body. Within 14 hours, okay, the next door in the laboratory, his liver was there, put the boron drug, neutron flux calculated, entire BNCT was done outside the body. Within 14 hours, that liver was put it back inside the body, and this person is still alive. So it is working. So that means you can use this treatment even to treat the terminally ill patient as long as there is no complication. There is no other tumor anywhere. You can make them alive. But if there's tumor all parts of the body, it's spread to metastatic conditions, then the problem comes. Here the best example, it did not go to the other parts of the body. We were very happy. This is fantastic. And at that time, I was invited by the University of Hyderabad in India as a Nehru professor, Nehru chair. And I accepted that. I was on my way to India. And then my sister-in-law in Mumbai, she called me and she said that my uncle, my mom's the youngest brother, he is my classmate, same age group. And we spent 18 years together. We went to the same high school, same place everywhere, and he was in a deathbed. He had the grade 4, the liver tumor. Now, as soon as he saw me, he saw it's me here. So he stood up. He was lying in bed. Doctor told him that he was going to die very soon because it is metastatic conditions. I showed this slide in India and even in China because these people don't go to the doctor all the time. And he had indigestion symptoms. He was having a lot of gas problem. He was taking Digel and Indian, the local remedy, lassi with the hing and all these things, all those local, the medications, Ayurvedic, at home medication, never bothered to go to the doctor. If he would have gone to the doctor, they would have told him that he had a liver tumor. Instead, he was taking all these medications and then taking all these Digel and all those antacids, milk of magnesia and all sort of stuff, but nothing was helping him. Eventually, when he went to doctor said that you are in the last stage. And that's what happened. He was lying flat. As soon as he saw me, he got up. And that's his wife and his children standing next to him. And then I said to him, we finished this treatment in Italy for the similar kind of tumor. And we can do that for you too. Don't worry. As soon as I finish in February, on my way to the United States, I can take you to Japan and we can treat you there with my collaborator, Dr. Natu. And he was very happy and he was talking to me. Then I went to oncologist and talked to the oncologist. Oncologist said that it's already metastatic conditions. It's too late. It's spread to lungs and other places. There's no way he will survive. We can treat with the BNCT, that would be okay, but before that he would die with other complications. So while I was still there in India, he died on January 22nd, 2004 of liver cancer. Very sad. Here I was helping somebody in Italy. Couldn't help my own uncle, with whom I spent 18 years together. Very sad thing. So of course, when you see things like that, you learn something from these things. And we learned something. But at the same time, by the way, in Japan, we had a person, 67-year-old patient with adenoid cystic carcinoma. Look at that, how it looked. And look after the treatment. This is before BNCT. 22 months after BNCT, gone completely. This patient is alive. So head and neck tumor, piece of cake. Absolutely, no problem. So head and neck tumor usually don't go to metastatic conditions that easily. we can easily handle it. BNCT works. So we were so happy, but remember, the most dangerous one, what is that? GBM, glioblastoma multiforme. Now, glioblastoma multiforme, by the way, almost everybody dies from this. 60,000 cases worldwide every year. Now, the outcome is always fatal. Median survival is 18 months in the United States, but it's less than 18 months, less than 10 months in Asia, especially in China and India. People die a lot faster. There is no other treatment but BNCT, because they all die. Our, the Senator Kennedy, he died of GBM too. So, anyway, so previously we had a brain tumor where we need to have the surgery, open skull like this, brain tumor. But now we don't need to do that anymore. We can do the tumor, the entire tumor will be within the skull, and without opening the skull, we can treat them. Because fast neutron, when it passes through the skull, it becomes slow neutron, it captures. Very easy. So, earlier, we used to remove everything from the boron drug because the drugs were not specific. Now we know that the boron drug, we can send it to the tumors, passing through the blood-brain barrier without any problem. Nanoparticles and like that. So we have so many different, the compounds which can be used. Now here we can do that without even opening the skull. Well, here's the case, by the way. Her name is Tammy Jones. Okay. Now she's a 30-year-old female PhD student from Everett, Washington. Now the protocol for her is because, by the way, she was falling all over the places. She had absolutely no idea whether she is alive or dead. And then she went to, it's a grade 4 glioma here. She went to, by the way, a doctor in Seattle. And the doctor is the Helsinki area, Poland. And he said, well, we had to remove all the tumor, but we can't remove all of it. We can remove 60% of that. 40% of the tumor is still inside, so we can't do anything. The protocol-wise, of course, you have surgery, conventional fractionated X-ray radiation with concomitant chemotherapy, or combined administration of BSH and or BPA together. The two drugs maybe might be better. And then treat it twice, 14 days interval and like that. We told all these things to the patient. Patient agreed. And then we had the patient ready for the treatment. And here it is, MRI before surgery, radiation and chemotherapy. Before that, MRI looked like this. This is the one before the treatment, before surgery. And look at that after you remove that, still there, plenty. So that's the MRI pre-BNCT onset, okay? Now, what happened basically is the doctor said, look, I can remove all these things, but you have to have BNCT, that's the only option. And at that time, by the way, she was told, contact the Helsinki facility, they have the nuclear reactor, and they will treat you, because he's from Helsinki area, and he knew that, the Polish people can do that, or Finland. So, over there in Finland, everything said, okay, but what's her age? They said, 32-year-old. Sorry, we don't treat anybody under the age of 50, because they don't want to take any chance. Suppose now, young person dies after this, then they can sue, right? So they're worried about that. They said they're not going to do it. Well, the mother was panicking. She was really, really panicking. She was in tears. And she told that there are other people in the United States too. So she went online and she was looking at the Googling. She found my site. And she contacted. And when she contacted the collaborator from Japan, so we were talking, she was sitting next to me, and we were talking the protocol, what we are going to do and how we are going to do against treatment in Japan and all those things. And I gave the telephone call to him, and he was talking, and he cut short his trip, his vacation, and he went back to Japan, and he fixed her BNCT right away. They were very happy. And also, they were told, $60,000 per patient is paid by the Japanese government, not a single penny to the patient. The patient can only pay airfare, hotel accommodation, all expenses, nothing else. And here is on 10th June, I got an email from Takadaki saying that 2 patients were successfully treated by BNCT this week. Tammy is doing very well. She already discharged, and she and her family are going to Disneyland in Tokyo next week. Think about this. The girl has absolutely no idea whether she's alive or dead. She has no clue that she was in Japan. She was treated, no side effect. Of course, it has to be the second, another treatment has to be done here. Second BNCT, that was planned, that was the protocol. She has to have another treatment on June 22nd. But in the meantime, they were going to Tokyo Disneyland. Think about this. This was the greatest moment for us. And here it is, post BNCT 1 week and post BNCT 20 months. Just about gone, completely, absolutely nothing. So this was the happiest news for us. Then we told, well, remember, you have is a fractional BNCT because none of the drug was specific enough to go all the way up to 35 microgram per gram of tumor. That means there would be some residual one. That's why we call fractionated BNCT more than once. Second year, third year. Go every year, 3 years in a row. Then the 4th year, after that, every 2 years. And then, once everything is gone, finished, you will be fine. In the meantime, she came back and she finished her PhD. She became a doctor. All right? Everything was fine. She went to the doctor, and the doctor said she is free from tumor recurrence. What a mistake. The doctor should not have said that, because the doctor was not the BNCT expert. So they should have contacted us, and we told you had to go back, but they didn't. They said tumor recurrence. You don't have to go back to Japan because airfare cost you $2,200, hotel accommodation maybe another $1,000, and then Tokyo Disneyland ticket maybe. So they are worried about this. They forgot you cannot put a price tag on somebody's life. And we kept on saying she has to go back. But doctor said, you don't need to go back. So the dilemma, because all these doctors win, right? Professors are crazy ones. So they didn't listen. But my collaborator, he's a doctor too. He's MD, PhD. So they could have listened to him. They didn't. I call penny wise, pound foolish. They think much, they worried about little money, and we knew that. This, you remember, it's 2005, 2004 she was treated, and we expected 2007 that we lost Tammy this morning. So this kind of thing we cannot really teach public. Public has to decide. And I purposely show this one, that how a mistake can happen. And she could have been alive today. Unfortunately, she's gone. But remember, whenever you make a mistake, we learn, and that's what we learn. Non-homogeneity of the boron drug in the cancer cell, it was not going all of them. If it would have gone, we could have treated all of them. She didn't have to worry about going back again. So, the partial destruction. But then, metastatic condition of the tumor. As you keep on living, that the tumor roots will grow. And that's what happened to her. And then, she never went for the third treatment in time. Sad story, but remember, I'm a positive thinker. I always think positive. We will learn anything from this mistake. We did. So I was very much interested in making this boron drug. And to make the boron drug, we have boron enrichment. Remember, one good thing about the researchers, we not only do this, the medical, the oriented research, we can also do our high-profile chemical research. And here it is. We made the nanoruthenium, we ended up making a boron 10 enriched decaboron, which is the starting material. Very nice. So we realized that now this is so cheap because for 1 gram, the Czech Republic, the boron, the agency called CAD-CAM, they used to charge near about $9,000. Now we can make it 1 gram, $100, $200, not a big deal. So They may be out of business, but at least we are in business now, so we can make all these compounds. And then we made this lot of other derivatives. For example, dandromers, we can make that. Look at the dandromers you can have. And this is the one, by the way, the phenylene core, this phenylene core can have a fluorescent property. It shines. When it shines, by the way, that's what we want, where the drug is going. And here's so many other molecules we made. Not only that, all this chemistry, since I'm not going to talk about chemistry here today, so I'm just going to show you some of these molecules. Look at that. Look at that, how fluorescent. You can see that. It's different color. And we have a red chip, blue chip, pink chip, and all of that. We can make it water soluble. Chemistry is fantastic. You know, in chemistry right now, it's in our research, it is not how to make, it's what to make. We can make anything you say, you make it. And then we have done all these things. All right, look at this one. Looks like a chem draw, isn't it? But it's actual compound. Look at how many boron atoms you can send it in. Remember, the biggest problem is not sending enough boron atoms to the tumor cell. Now we can have it. Not only that, by the way, we can put in on gold nanoparticles. All these nanochemistry, nanotechnology-based chemistry. That was flourishing. And we knew that we can make now. We're so happy we can make the nanotechnology-driven cancer therapy. Why not? And here it is, by the way, carbon nanotube. From that, we attached the cage molecules. We can open it and make it water soluble. When it's a water soluble, by the way, here are the biodistribution studies. You could see now. See, none of the compounds before went beyond 14 micrograms. Here is the 24 microgram. We can make it. But still, it's not good enough. We need 35 micrograms, remember. So our research continued. And we thought that, what about magnetic nanoparticle? Now, magnetic nanoparticle, if we can make it, then we can use magnetically induced endocytosis. We can make a ferrofluid and we can send it to the blood vessel. So, idea came, and we made that. Here the starch functional magnetic nanoparticle. And with simple eclipse chemistry, we call it, and we made all these derivatives and make it water soluble as well. And not only that, look at that in the free state, how it looks like, and look at inside the tumor cell, it's still intact. That means we can send it inside the tumor. It's wonderful. Not only that, by the way, look at without the external magnet. You see 14 microgram. We don't have a tumor-specific drug anymore. 14 microgram here. Look at this with the external magnet. 54 microgram per gram of tumor. Now we are in the business. Because even if it goes 50%, we have 27 microgram inside. Wonderful. Because all the cells don't get enough concentration. One cell may have 54, other cell may be 35, other cell may be 40. And even the least one, 50%, we have a 27 microgram. A lot better than any other drug we had. So we were extremely happy at this point. We knew that. Now we are testing that in human patients in Japan because we can't do it all in the United States. Now we thought another idea. Why not? If you have boron and a magnetic, why not put a gadolinium? This is the one thing, renal effect, look at that. See, the patient with renal dysfunction, bad kidneys, who gets MRI using gadolinium dye are at risk to develop all the symptoms of nephrogenic systematic fibrosis, including hard, shiny, darkened skin that tightens and becomes extremely painful, joint inflexibility, loss of movement, yellow colored eyes, painful joints, and lungs, heart, and organ damage, all here. In this site, I saw that. And also, in the same thing, it said the lawyers are suing the company because they are selling this magnovis, which is the breast tumor. You know, just to clear the imaging, they are using gadolinium. But they forgot one thing. The lawyers had no idea, or the patients did not tell the lawyers, that they are drug abusers and alcoholics. Sure, we know the chemist, if he has alcohol and some of those molecules that can replace the porphyrin in the gadolinium, sure, gadolinium will be loose. Then it will come out as gadolinium metal. Now, who is going to tell them? Because they don't want us as expert witness. They have the lawyers and the doctors, they are fighting with each other. So unfortunately, nothing you could do. The one way you can beat the system is make our compound everything sacked. Put that inside the sack. boron, gadolinium, iron, everything in a sack. If you do that, then you got the miracle drug. Here's the one, again, cross-section, 255,000 to 54,000 bond, and radiotoxicity of OJ emitters in DNA proximity. It has to be very close to the DNA site. Remember I talked about that, OJ electrons. Complex stability is number one criteria. Tumor and DNA targeting. Stable, this is covalent association of gadolinium, chelated moiety, with the DNA-seeking moiety. That means it has to have 8 bonds. If it's less than 8 bonds, gadolinium comes out. That's danger. Appropriate solubility, osmolality, low cytotoxicity at therapeutic dose. These are the desirable features. Now here we are. We plan to do. What we did is basically we made the gadolinium nanoparticle and we covered with the silica. When we covered with the silica, by the way, we were extremely happy. So we can make that inside this safe sack. So when it is a safe sack, it doesn't come out. And look at this one here. In this case, we also put a boron in that too now, in the sack. Boron, gadolinium, and the iron, all of them together inside. Look at that. Doesn't look like M&M candy? This is the TM image. And not only that, by the way, we proved that this has the right composition. And not only that, right now, we finished the biodistribution studies of that, trying to make it water soluble, make it more, and right now this research is going on. And we want to do further and get tested in the biodistribution studies. And this is, in my opinion, the ultimate. If we make this, if we're successful, sure. Definitely, I tell my students it will be a major thing. So, right now, we are at that stage, and here are the 2 books I wrote, because a lot of people have no idea what we're talking about. So I wrote the book, Boron and Gadolinium Neutron Capsid Therapy, which is in the market. It's sold near about 500 countries now. So it's very nice. And I came back from China in last December, and they started now Cancer Center. They're based on the BNCT and GDNCT. Most populous country in the world, and the second most populous country in the world is India. I went there after I came back from China, and Baba Atomic Research Center, and they have the neutron source, and they are starting with the local Tata Memorial Hospital. So it's not far away. Maybe FDA may not give us the opportunity to explore all over it, but the world is doing this. Already Korea started there, Singapore started, China now, India. I think this is the way to go. Anyway, so we are very happy, and I thought that by giving you highlights of what we did, hopefully it might have given you some idea. You know, here there's lots of people worked in my lab, and by the way, this is my wife. She always used to complain that I spend all my time in the laboratory. And I was thinking, how can I solve this problem? I said, if you include her in the team, then there's no problem. So that's why now she's there with me, then she goes home around 4 o'clock, no complaint whatsoever. I go home as usual, my time, 7:38. Fine, no problem at all. So I learned one more thing, remember. There are lots of people work with me, collaborators. Lipscomb, Nobel laureate, he died just a couple of years ago. Alan Cowley from UT Austin, Wolfgang Keim from Germany, Shang Zheng, NIU, Maguire from SMU, Max Planck Institute, Horst Goldman, Herbert Roschke, president of the Göttingen Academy. He even made me the Gauss professor, and Humboldt Award, my host. Kit Cummins from MIT, and Jamis from India, in Hyderabad, now in Bangalore. And a lot of funding agency, by the way, they gave me, they believe in me, and they still support me. I'm so grateful. Without their financial support, we could not have achieved all this. And the local other people, by the way, Takagaki, long-time collaborator. Without this person's help, we would have never done all these, the clinical trials going beyond the United States. Lipscomb died, of course, enzyme chemistry and all those used to help me a lot. Sajid Bucks from a local hospital, Kishwaki. Arlene Lennox, she died recently. She, Tom Kraft is in charge from Fermilab. And from Bhubaneswar, Karina Institute of Medical Sciences, they started their clinical trials. And I was there, visited that place. This is the doctor and the professor over there and in India. So, thank you. If you have any questions, I'll be really happy to answer.
So are you trying to use any?
Okay, that's, any
Oh,
question?
okay.
Any question over there in Chicago?
That they have.
Oh, okay.
So thank you very much.
Sure. Okay.